I was always like very curious and always asking why, how little children have that stage of their lives. Well, for me, that never ended. So I feel that's kind of my battery. It gives me more energy to keep going into the difficult things that my science career brings me,
Welcome to this episode of Women in Histology. One of the most passionate subjects with NSH members is inspiring the next generation to consider a job in histology. Education and advocacy are at the core of everything we do, and what keeps NSH member Haydee Lara motivated. In this episode, Haydee discusses her volunteerism and outreach work. She also shares how advocacy can start in your own home, just like it did for her. And if you want to find ways to get more involved with STEM and histology outreach in your community, contact us here at NSH, histo@nsh.org.
Well, hello, this is David Krull. I'm the VIR chair here at NSH, and I'm doing this interview with a colleague of mine. It's a real privilege, actually, to introduce you to her today. Her name is Haydee Lara, and she happens to be an investigator in my group called Cellular Biomarkers here at GlaxoSmithKline. And so we're just going to have a conversation a little bit about what she does here at GSK and how she got involved in histotechnology. It's not often something that many people are aware of, and we just wanted to hear her story and give her an opportunity to share her story with us today. So welcome, Haydee.
Hi, Dave.
So tell us a little bit about your role here at GSK and some of your previous experience before you joined GSK.
Well, thank you for the introduction, Dave. I do remember how we met. We were having lunch because they were having a special lunch for the people coming from North Carolina, like socialized.
Oh, that's right.
From the move to Pennsylvania.
Kind of like an acclimation.
Yeah, and then you started telling me about your work on histology, and you were very passionate about GI diseases. And then I told you the work I was doing, actually getting stem cells from human intestines.
That's right. I remember that conversation that we
had. That's the first time we talked.
Yeah.
I do remember that conversation very well. And what struck me is that
I'm flattered you remember it in so much detail too.
Yeah, because you were very passionate about it, and I was very passionate about it too. And then we just kept talking about it like for half an hour. Okay. And then later I learned that you had this histology position open, and I haven't done histology since I was in college. So I remember when I was in college, everything was manual, and you had to focus the microscope and all these things. And I thought microscopy and histopathology were like beautiful things to do. I just didn't have the patience to do like all that manual work. But then when I met you, you explained me like how many things are automated now. Okay. And I was really fascinated also learning about the scanners, that you can scan an image and you don't need to focus your microscope anymore. Especially I was fascinated with the image analysis, instead of counting the cells manually, you can just use computer vision algorithms to do all the boring work basically in histopathology and just focus on like how beautiful those images are and what do they represent like for the science and for medicines. That was very cool. And actually before coming to the histopathology group, what I was doing was cell and molecular biology. It was nothing related. I was working mostly like with pipettes and, mixing small amounts of things to modify cells and cell culture of cancer cells, of cancer organoids. Very, very different work. And I was really, I really wanted to take on the challenge. It's been so much fun. I have a bachelor's degree in biology. That's how I got to learn some histopathology.
I was always appreciating your attention to detail, like in the meticulous nature of the cell culturing work and the molecular biology techniques that you had. But I'm curious, Haydee, how did you really discover your passion for biology or medical research? Was that always there? Or was there like a time in your life when you thought, maybe I'll give this a shot?
I don't remember what was the exact moment. I think, for what I know or the way I feel is that I always wanted to be a scientist. And my mom tells me actually that since I was in kindergarten, I said that I would be a scientist. I also wanted to be like many other things, right? Like a ballet, ballerina, and singer, and I just made it to scientist. So, but I just don't remember the moment when I decided that it was interesting for me. I was always like very curious and always asking why, how little children have that stage of their lives that they are always like, why? Well, for me, that never ended.
I think every parent has grown up with that, a little child hanging off of your leg saying, why? That's right.
Well, apparently that stage never ended for me until now. So yeah, it was very little that I knew that I wanted to be a scientist. I changed a little bit. Maybe when I was in elementary school, I thought that I wanted to be a teacher because my godfather was like a very important role model for me, and he's a teacher. So I guess I want to be a teacher like him. And I think a little bit later I changed back again to being scientist. But I still do a lot of teaching work. I do volunteering with STEM education. So I'm still very interested in sharing my passion for science with others and getting, the children really thinking that they want to be scientists as well when they grow up.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about more of your involvement in volunteering work, because you do all this fascinating stuff here for GSK and in the lab. And tell me a little bit about how you incorporate some of your interest in teaching with your community service that you're doing, your volunteerism.
Yeah, so here at GSK, we have a group that is called the Science in Schools group. It's actually STEM education and outreach. So we engage with middle school and high school students and teachers. And we actually offer like lab tour and shadowing opportunities. Okay. I bring them into the histopathology lab.
I have seen them. Yeah. Yep. And they come in, there is safety glasses and a little lab coats. Yep.
I usually try, I ask people, I'm like, oh, what are you doing? And then they explain and how that incorporates in the drug development process.
Because you don't just talk about histology, right? You go to different groups within GSK and present the science that's going on. Is that right?
That's correct. So we take them to chemistry labs, to sequencing labs, and sometimes even like business people. So it's interesting for them to learn that once you study to be a scientist, you don't have to stay like doing experiments your entire life. There are so many pathways that you can take. So we try to give them that perspective. Okay. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. We also go to science carnivals, career fairs, and we try to bring like a good representation of scientists from different careers to talk to the teenagers.
And I have seen you in there talking to these students in the lab, and I can really see the enthusiasm that you share and when you talk about your work, and sometimes they ask good questions too. You can tell that they're really listening and engage with the discussion. So you're kind of a leader for part of that effort now, aren't you? Like in the STEM?
Yeah, I'm the regional leader for the Upper Providence site. So I organize the events with the group of volunteers in our Upper Providence site.
Excellent. So I want to transition a little bit more to keeping on the volunteerism that you do. I want you to talk a little bit about the NSH. So Haydee, I know that you've presented workshops with an interactive component. Mm-hmm. And can you tell us a little bit about what you've done in the digital pathology space with that interactive workshop?
Yeah, so we prepare with Liz. We prepare
Liz Chapella?
Yeah, with Liz Chapella. We prepare a workshop to prepare histopathologists on how to use the image analysis software or like the scanner software, basically, like small workflows of image processing.
Yep.
So I believe we focus on two different scanners or softwares, but of course there are many more. But it was one of them is like open software, and that's why we want to teach that. And the other one is one of the most common, marketed scanners. But I don't want to say the name, but probably everybody knows. Yeah. But yeah, it was a great experience. Liz is a very experienced speaker, and I felt that I had to learn a lot from her from that conference. She's also like, the way she organizes the presentations, for everybody to have a good learning experience, I always liked it very much. So it was a very, very good experience.
So she was almost like a coach or
Yeah.
a mentor to you in that way as well.
Yeah, definitely. So if any of you would like to develop your skills in presenting, probably co-presenting with Liz or with someone else.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, that could help.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, doing a co-presentation helps a lot because you're not responsible for the entire content, and then you can also switch off depending on where your area of expertise is. So you can talk more about where you're more comfortable.
Yeah.
So talking a little bit more about role models, mentors, people that inspired you, who has really been there for you throughout your career to your point now where you're at?
My mom, of course. My mom has been always there for me.
Yeah.
She's a nurse, and she actually took me to the hospital with her when I was a teenager. I did some sort of shadowing in the hospital where she worked. That way I could, interact with some of the medical students and some nurses and some lab chemists. So I could understand what kind of work that involves. I really, really thought that I wanted to be a medical doctor because I wanted to cure people.
Yeah.
And then I realized that I don't like to be near sick people because I'm a bit of a germaphobe.
Oh, okay.
So that was actually a very good experience because I want to cure people. So I want to do medicines, but I can do that behind a microscope, right?
Right.
Or like behind the window.
Yeah.
Like I think shadowing is really important. That kids probably like since middle school they should have those opportunities, so they have time to acquire the skills that are necessary for their career.
Yeah, so that experience that you had actually going into work with your mom was very, very helpful in deciding what career path you were going to take in the future.
Definitely.
And we try to do that too within the NSH. We have the career day within the symposium.
Yeah.
But I definitely see maybe value in doing job shadowing within the histology profession as well, especially with people that have already had an established career and maybe bringing in somebody for a day or two and shadow them to see if that would be a job that they would be interested in pursuing as a career. Because we still have trouble getting recognition, getting people to realize that histotechnology is a career path. Many times we kind of stumble upon it within a current role, like in research. We happen to do biomarker discovery that also involves histotechnology.
Yeah, like myself, I wasn't like formally trained in histotechnology.
Right.
And I had to acquire it through experience. But there are so many like histology professionals that can train others that I think shadowing is actually an excellent idea.
So we talked quite a bit about having career ambassadors, role models, and shadowing. Where do you go from here, Haydee? I mean, you've done really well for yourself, and you've really established your career here at GSK in biomarkers. You've begun doing important work at the NSH through the workshops and through various programs that you've done within the digital pathology space. So what are your current goals or aspirations or future interests that you want to pursue?
Yeah, so I feel that at this point I developed myself in the field of digital pathology and in things related to tissue biomarkers really. And currently we work in clinical trials, right? But these are like early clinical development. And in the past, I worked in preclinical research, some discovery, biomarker discovery, or just like basic research. So I feel that for me to have like the whole picture of the drug development process, I would like to learn more how medicines are taken into late clinical development, which is phase 3, phase 4.
Yep.
And then some medicines some medicines actually need companion diagnostics assays for personalized medicine. So that's actually like, it has to do like with more regulations and a different set of skills that you can learn. So I feel that will give me like the whole picture of the drug development processes and the biomarkers that go with this tissue biomarker uh, field actually. So that's where I feel that I would like to go.
Okay.
And of course, like keep training junior scientists as much as I can, but still do, like the science carnivals is very, it's not like a very structured, because you are not mentoring people, but it's just fun to see like little kids getting excited about like basic scientific concepts that you can explain them. So I feel that's kind of my battery.
Yeah.
It gives me more energy to keep going into the difficult things that my science career brings to me, So doing these science carnivals and seeing little kids motivated and excited about science is my battery.
So what do you see as some of the current barriers in our profession, or some of the things that there needs to be more improvement, or there are like ongoing challenges that you face?
I think education could be better.
Yeah.
Like public education could include more science.
Okay.
And because if you ask many children, like the idea that they have of a scientist is just like not realistic.
Yeah.
It's what they see on a movie. They think that all of us know how to do like very complicated calculus,
Yeah.
or like we know like all the physics in the world, and it's not. Like really being a scientist is being an expert in a very small field or a very small technology.
Yeah.
So for them to just understand the basics when they are in elementary school, for example, that would be great. So improve education and improve opportunities, like the opportunities the NSH and other associations provide of, shadowing career fairs, and so they can be exposed to real scientists like you and me,
Yeah.
And so I think that's a barrier that is not difficult to overcome, but it needs of more volunteers. And for us as scientists, I think what I see the most difficult part is like collaboration.
Yeah.
And if we collaborate more, we can move the science faster. But also there is one barrier for collaboration, other than having like confidential information for the companies. But also when we are scientists and we are so specialized on something, our language is also so specific to that field.
Yeah.
That we kind of lose the ability to communicate with each other.
That's an excellent point, because it almost becomes a separate language, right?
Exactly.
You talk the language of your particular expertise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe I think the scientists, we should keep thinking on that. Like when we are talking, stop talking with acronyms and just like very specific terms, but you leave that for your specific conference. But when we talk in a collaborative environment, we should kind of be more open and thinking how we want to share that science with other scientists that are not specialized in our field.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. Thank you for adding value there and sharing that story. That perspective is really important to have, because we want to do what we can to break down barriers. And we know even within large companies like GSK, we have to be intentional about making sure that we keep those lines of communication open, so we can explain to our collaborators our ways of working and how we go about the experimental process and validations that we do here. All right. Well, very good. Thank you so much, Haydee, for going through your passion with us today and sharing your story with the rest of the NSH membership. kind of as we close our discussion, is there anything that you want to say or any points that you want to make before we end the discussion?
That I'm really glad that I made that switch in my career from cell and molecular biology to histopathology and digital pathology. It's been a lot of fun.
Oh, my pleasure. My
5
pleasure.
years of fun.
That's right. That's right. And hopefully many more.
Thanks for listening to this episode, and don't forget to check us out on your favorite podcasting site. Use the word HistoTalks. Awesome podcast!